The Almost Perfect Podcast.
Welcome to the Almost Perfect Podcast, a celebration of fuck-ups, failures, and falling flat on your face. This is a podcast that believes you can learn from experience, but that experience doesn't have to be your own. Hi, I'm Bob Perfect, and I'm a functional fuck-up. Let's learn from somebody else's mistakes, and today we're going to be learning from Matt Olivier. Now, Matt, along with his brother Luke, are the owners of the Winston Pub. You know what I meant there. Either way, Matt is one of the owners of the Winston Pub, and the Winston Pub is a legendary music venue here at you in Durban, the 031. And you probably know the Winston. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably listening to this because you know the Winston. You've been to the Winston. You've either played at the Winston as a musician or as a comedian or even a poet. There's been poets there. Maybe you've painted at the Winston because there's so much artwork all over there done by local artists. And so, yes, you probably know the Winston. But if you don't, it is the home for misfits and outcasts in Durban, basically. It's a place where a lot of rock music has happened over the years, but it's also opened its doors to many other sounds and styles. And it's an institution in Durban. So I decided, I had to get Matt on the cast because him and I go way back, like way, way back. I've probably known him for about 13 or 14 years now. I think I've known him maybe even longer than that. 15 years probably now. So it's been a long time that we've known each other. We've got a long history together. And this was a really cool, nostalgic catch-up, whilst also finding out, how the whole thing happened of him and his brother becoming the owners of the Winston Pub. Because they've been running it for about 6.5 years now. But before that, it had a long storied history. And we know that history because we went to the pub. We used to go to the Winston before Matt and Luke owned the Winston. And so it's a really cool, poetic story. Matt's got a long history in music. He's got a degree in sound engineering, and he's been in tons of bands, and he's been a part of the scene for many, many years. And it was really cool that he was the one, along with his brother Luke, to take over the Winston Pub. So we get into what it's like to actually be the people who have to run it now, who have to take on the responsibility of, the crash for Durban artists, I guess. And so we get into the struggles, we get into what makes it difficult, and we get into the highs. We get into what it's like to, have some of your favorite international acts come and play at the venue that you own. So it's a really cool conversation. I'm sure many people listening to this now, maybe not, but I've always wanted to own a music venue. It's still one of my goals, to own a venue one day. Not just music, I want to have comedy and everything else as well, obviously. But, I've always wanted to have a venue. And it's cool to understand and get it from, the horse's mouth of what it's actually like to run a venue, It's very different to what you might think, and also very much what you might think. You've probably read some books, you've probably seen some stories. And it's a wild and crazy ride, and it's a really cool conversation that Matt and I get into. We go through his whole history from Cockstad all the way up till this week. We talk about some of the frustrations he has literally this week. And we also, we talk about our history. We've worked together so much. We've done a lot of cool things together. So I'm really, really stoked with this one. It is, it's not that edited. So there might be 1 or 2 sections in it that I probably should have taken out. And I might regret leaving in a little bit later. But this one, we recorded it yesterday on Tuesday. It's coming out today on Wednesday. So you're hearing fresh thoughts, and you're going to also be finding out about what's happening this weekend and what's coming up at the Winston Pub over the next few months, few years, and just the general future of the Winston Pub. So I'm really stoked about this one. I'm also really stoked that I am chatting to you right now without holding the mic in my hand, because thanks to the patrons, thank you patrons on Patreon, I have now bought 2 mic stands. So that annoying noise that you used to hear in some of the older episodes where it was people fiddling on the mic? We shouldn't have that anymore. And I'm really, really stoked about that. So thank you to all the patrons, all 9 of you, for getting involved with the Patreon and chipping in each and every single month. So for those of you who are like, what the fuck is this on about? What's Patreon? What's Patreon? Isn't it the same word? Is he saying the same thing? Is he confused? Yes, I'm confused, but also that's just because I'm a little bit stoned. But really, the truth is, Patreon is a subscription service. You can pay $1 or you can pay $5 on my particular one. Different people do it differently, and you get different benefits. So it's the podcast, this thing you're listening to now, you're always going to get it for free. I'm always going to give this to you for free. But if you want extra things, like if you want to interact, like if you want to ask questions on the podcast, which I fucked up for this week, and I'm really sorry, guys, for Chandra, Gareth. I'm sorry. I will ask your questions with the next guest. Because this one was a little rushed, I didn't get to the Patreon questions, and it's something I've been wanting to do for ages, but that is an option, okay? You can also suggest guests, which cats have done, and some of the guests that I've had on this podcast have come from the suggestions in the Patreon. You can also win prizes. Yes, last month I gave away a Harry Potter trading card game starter kit because I'm a nerd. I love trading card games, and I had a sponsorship with Unseen Shop, and so I had a little bit of extra stock that I figured I'd give away to you cats, and so Matthew Cuthbert won that. So he's going to collect that pretty soon, and then, yeah, this month I'm giving away, so I interviewed Cam Lovestrand from Black Math. I'm giving away one of his shirts, his Return to Worm Mountain t-shirts, and a Black Math CD that's signed by him, and a little relic of South African music history. I'm going to be giving away a Kid of Doom t-shirt. It's a woman's one. I think it's either a small or a medium size. So that was something I was meant to give away on Durban Is Yours years ago, and I kind of forgot about it. And so now one of you is going to benefit from that. Also, I'm giving away a case of Poison City Lager, and we just need one more patron for that to happen. So if I get to 10 patrons by the end of this month, then hey, I'm giving away a case of Poison City Lager's Durban Poison. Yes, South Africa's very first cannabis lager. And that's only for South Africans. I can't ship you a case of beer overseas. But if you're in South Africa, I can courier that to you. So sign on up to the Patreon. It's patreon.com/almostperfect. Other than that, if you don't want to put your cash in, that's totally fine. I'm not too stressed about it. I'm really happy with what's happening at the moment. It's, a couple $100 a month. And with that, I'm going to be saving that and just improving my studio. So I'm going to be getting some soundproofing, and I'm going to be, eventually getting a mixing desk, and then eventually, get like a table and get some chairs and just make it like a real studio. But that's long-term plans. And that's because of the Patreon. So the Patreon or the patrons, whichever one. It's because of those cats. It's because of you cats. So thank you very much. But if you don't have cash or you don't want to put in, that's totally cool. Just like us. That's all you have to do. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and, give subscriptions, hit subscribe, give stars, do all of those things, and just interact with the podcast online, and I'll be super stoked with it. And even if you don't do that, I just hope you enjoy this conversation, because here it comes. It's the Almost Perfect Podcast with Matt Olivier. How you living, Matt?
I'm good, thank you. Bob?
Just good, thank you. How you living though? Like, how's things going? You are one of the owners of the Winston Pub, so I imagine you're quite busy at the moment.
Yes, we are. We're constantly busy. It's a lot of work maintaining the venue and doing the marketing, and we've got a lot of bookings coming up, which is cool. We've had an awesome year so far. Had some really cool bands and some cool tours come through.
Yeah, I've seen you guys have been putting in a lot more efforts, getting a lot more bands to actually come through to Durban.
Yeah, we did a kind of renovation in December. We built a pizza kitchen, and we just cleaned it up to Winston quite a lot, and that inspired us a lot to really just get on top of our game. We're 6.5 years in now, and eventually it takes your toll, and I suppose you do get not lazy, but tired and complacent. So we just, both Luke and we just kind of said this is gonna be our year. Let's pick up our game, let's put more effort into it, let's get some cooler bands, let's actually put our initiative into it.
Because for people who don't know, the Winston is like a legendary music venue in Durban. It's been going for 20-30 years at least, and you guys bought it 6.5 years
6.5 years or so.
So what was that process? How did it come about that you guys were going to buy this place that you'd been going to for years? Like as kids, like I know we went there together, plenty. So, how did this all happen?
It wasn't part of the plan. But it kind of made sense at the end of the path where I landed up, you know.
Because you had experience in restaurants before.
Yes, I was working. After school, I went overseas, and I suppose just after I finished school, I also started waitering and working as a bartender. And then I studied sound engineering, and the entire time I was also waitering on the side.
So actually, before we get into how you bought the Winston, let's actually do that. Let's just go back in time, because it was a path. It was like,
yeah, it definitely was, and I think it was. I was quite lucky how everything just ended up at the final.
Because that is like the convergence of everything. If you think about it, you know, from waitering and bartending, managing, you know, a restaurant and stuff, doing sound engineering, being in bands and that.
Yeah, it all like I had the perfect recipe, and eventually out the oven popped the Winston Pub, I suppose. It's an awful joke, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I waited. I had experience. And then
So let's start off. You grew up in Kokstad.
I grew up in Kokstad.
Dick City.
Yeah.
And what was that like?
It was cool. It was a small town. Lived on a farm with just my brother, my mom. My parents divorced at a young age, so then my grandparents, eventually my stepdad. It was cool. We had a nice little life until I was about 15. We loved the farm, but I don't really know why my stepdad suggested that I could come to Durban, but my stepbrother got into George Campbell, and just out of the blue, my parents said, maybe you should go to George Campbell. I don't think I was doing anything wrong or like in a weird place, but maybe I wasn't, I wasn't really into sport.
What did you think George Campbell was, like a punishment school?
No, not at all. But what a random thing for like a kid at 15 and his parents just out of the blue go, hey, Matt, don't you want to go to Durban and go to George Campbell? Like, I don't know. And they're like, it's right near the beach. Jonathan's going there now, and we think it'll be good for you. And I was like, yeah, I think it would be. And I decided, a snap decision to do it. I don't know why. I had all my friends in Kokstad. A lot of them I'm still good friends with now that are living in Durban. It was quite cool. I suppose in my friend's crew, I was the first to get to Durban. And then when they all came to Durban after school, I was already here. Yeah, I got to show them around. So yeah, it worked out in the end. And when I came to Durban, the first friend I made was a guy called Kevin, who I think you might know.
I know Kevin, yeah.
Yeah.
Weird relationship, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we go back a very long time. So my first, probably second year of being in Durban ever, Standard 9, I remember meeting you through Frankie. Anyway.
Yeah, so another person. So that's the thing. You going to George Campbell's kind of like how I know you met all your friends, like back then.
Absolutely.
The people that I met you through went to George Campbell, and that was kind of the whole relationship. I was
so lucky, and the first guy I sat next to in science class was a guy, Kevin, that was in a band, and he asked me if I played anything, and I was like, yeah, man. I play keyboard.
And did you play keyboard?
I did play keyboard.
Okay.
I did piano lessons and keyboard lessons when I was in Kokstad. Just such like, when you're doing it at a young age, you don't think it's going to work out for me in the end. And it was just so perfect. I could be like, yeah, I do. And it's like, well, why didn't you come to my house? And it's the first guy I met. And I did that, the next weekend. And I got to his house, and we started a band. And that's how my first few months went in Durban. It was just awesome. I met this cool crew of people. Anyone in a band in school at that age are normally cool kids. They're not into drugs or they're not into sport or fighting. Like, I don't know.
You're trying to get good at something.
Yeah.
Like when you're a youngster with a guitar, typically like your afternoon spent like, going 2 or 3 hours just playing scales. Same thing with guys with drums. Same thing.
A lot of fun.
Some things I can imagine, the cats, like these days with Beats pads and like, with Ableton and like different like programs and stuff like that. Probably the same thing. Like,
I suppose you could do it more solo nowadays. A lot of people can get involved, but there you had to have a few guys to kind of get a team.
But like typically, like as you're saying, like those kind of people are dedicated to like a thing, and like so they're not going to be like fuck ups.
It's part of your lifestyle as well. It's like a musical lifestyle is quite different to a sporting lifestyle.
Yeah, although they both have the practice element.
Yes,
to it
they do,
and performing in front of people, but in such a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. And different scenes, they are just different. And anyway, so I was lucky enough to, our first band name was Inertia, and then after that it was, you're gonna have to cut this pause. It was Atomic Reindeer.
Of course it was.
And then after that it became Flip Switch. And that's when we like really found our groove, and that's where my company, our Flip Switch events, all comes from.
Okay.
It was Flip Switch, and that was...
So it was like, I'm gonna imagine Flip Switch was probably a bit new metal-y.
No, in the day, dude, we were doing Blink-182 covers. We actually played at Red Dog.
In Maritzburg.
And no, dude, Red Dog on
Red
the
Dog
Bluff.
on the Bluff.
Yeah.
Red Dog. Yeah, Red Dog had the bull.
Hey,
They had the
yeah.
mechanical
I don't know.
bull.
Anyway, and we played a few school shows at Eskim in Santa Ana Matric. The one we played with a band called, you know that guy Scully?
Yeah, that's good.
So Scully was in the band with Fish and with JD's brother.
Yeah, I remember Kendall. Yeah.
No, Kendall wasn't in
not
it.
Kendall.
JD's brother Mitch.
Oh, Mitch
Yeah,
Bluger.
they were, I can't remember the band. Oh, In Sobriety. So
Yes.
they played with us on, this is so long ago, 2002, 2003. And so I was quite lucky. I just started meeting all the people, and I actually became friends with those people later on in life, which was quite nice. And my friend Aaron, for example, who's just started playing guitar for my band Codes, he also joined Flip Switch. So 15 years later, we're in bands again. It's just such a, then I met you guys. Then after school studying sound engineering, I met so many more musicians.
Yeah, especially.
And that's when it
also
really branched out.
When you left school, how soon did you move into that Margaret Mason place?
First year, dude. That was the thing. It was like, that was our gap year house.
Okay, so do you want to explain the Margaret Mason house and why you just spoke about it like like that? In that way?
Yeah. That was our first house share of all time, but it ended up being this insane pool mansion house thing in Durban North, in Margaret Mason Road. And essentially it was my friend Stuart, myself, and a few others of us. There was 3 of us. And it ended,
although there was always like 10 people there on the weekend.
It ended up being a 2-story house behind this mansion. So there was the pool house for the mansion, and it was a very old couple that lived there. I don't think they knew what they had. We were paying something like, I think it was 700 Rand each, or like below 3 grand a month, for this house.
Wow.
It was, we were happy to live in a pool house because it wasn't a real house, but it was, I don't know, it was a double-story fucking mansion, little house for us. Had a white picket fence with a pool that had fountains in it.
I got pushed through that picket fence.
we had that started like a 3-year insane type vibe, and
I had my going there, dude.
I had my 20th there. With and my friend Paul Figuera, he had his 22nd. Paul Figuera. He's also played in many bands since then. And at the time, and we shared our birthday party there, and I think we had 400 people. There were 8 bands playing.
I remember that night, dude. That was insane.
Next level, It was.
The neighbors hated you.
I just remember collecting almost 1,000 quarts the next day and taking them to the.
Hey, that's almost 1,000 Rand.
It was cool. But yeah, we had a lot of good times.
Although I remember walking, we used to go to Joe's pool bar, like from there.
Often.
Yeah, and then some of the walks back were a little destructive.
We were kids out of school. We were taking signs home. I've actually, in my car right now, got the Margaret Mason signpost.
Yeah, you should probably take that back.
So weird. I had it in storage. I got it from it was in my dad's stuff the other day, and I put it in my car, and I've still got it. What a weird, I haven't even thought about that house for so long. What a weird coincidence.
That's weird, because that's one of the things that I associate with my earliest memories of you.
Our friendship, yeah.
Yeah, just that house and just...
But we've got lots of history together. I mean,
we do.
I remember when I came back from overseas, the first time, and I lived on the couch for I think almost 3 months, or maybe it wasn't that long. Maybe it was 2 months.
It was about that. It was nearly 3 months probably. But yeah, you did the dishes. It was good.
Yeah, I was lucky enough. Then after that, I lived with my other friend Lee, my best friend Lee.
Yeah,
it was cool. But your house, your flat was also.
You can be honest.
We can remember those times were Crazy. We had crazy times. In
Oh,
your flat.
God,
I think everyone in Durban has been to your flat at some point in their life.
Not
And-
everyone, but a lot of different people have, and yeah, they've probably had a weird night. Like this new spots is not gonna have a red light.
No, it's not. And
It's not gonna have people like lying on the floor. Like,
let's just say that the red light parties will stay the red light parties, and we'll remember about them. But I don't think we'll ever have one of those ever again.
people are gonna
Oh,
get
a few
like,
of those.
yeah, people are definitely gonna be going, what the fuck did they do? And you will never know.
You will never know.
Yeah, fuck, dude. But we've actually, just in general, like the level of Joel's always been a bit high. Like
Yeah.
I remember like at Vim's house, like he used to have like epic house parties.
Absolutely. I think we were just quite lucky to be in a really nice circles, yeah, and that all brushed upon each other, and everyone I know always really talented, creative people around us, and very free spirited, and it was cool. We
Although, do you remember? Okay, one more like party vibe. The night where we were running over cars.
I wasn't running over cars, just so everyone knows that, but I do remember that distinctly, and
the
spray
fucking-
painting the cars.
Oh, I don't know about
I
that.
think we were tagging.
No, I
we're
never,
not.
I never
Look,
tagged a
we-
car.
yeah.
I've never tagged a car in my life.
That memory, I just remember now. We weren't tagging cars, but there were people around tagging cars. I think.
I do think I put a dent or two in a bonnet because we were racing. Like, so there were cars lined up along the road. And
This
then
was
we were
in Morningside at Devon's house, our friend Devon.
Yeah, and so like we decided to have a race, but you had to run over the cars to get to the end of the thing. So
Jody was there,
Jody was there.
an instigator.
I think he put a shoe in a microwave and turned it on, and
Yes.
that caught a light. Like, didn't a couch land up in a pool or some shit? Like,
We've,
so that's just
I suppose
the foundation of like
15
the
years
early
worth
years.
of being friends at that age, from 18 onwards, where you just are having the time of your life. You're studying, you're
But it's also
getting
like,
involved.
do you see? I mean, judging from the feeds, the Instagrams and stuff like that, I don't see kids bucking out like as wild as we did. Like, like they don't. The house parties don't seem to be quite.
No, I think we're wrong.
I think we just don't see it.
We just don't see it. It's not often in our circles. Maybe the musicians, there's less kids that are musicians in our scene these days, I think. And
Because yeah,
I mean, I've heard some crazy stories about Schlanger kids. And,
Oh, okay,
I mean,
so-
come on, dude. Yo.
I guess when you can afford cocaine at 18.
I
Like,
don't
your
even
parties
know
are
if
gonna
it's
be-
about that, but I think there's definitely still a lot of house parties
Just
out there that
whacking
we
wild
just don't even
Okay, so
know.
it's just moved up the coast a little bit more.
I think so. Yeah. Away from us.
'Cause it used to be like like Bluff or Mbilo house party. Like these.
I think those house
every
parties still
weekend.
happen.
We just don't know.
Dude,
about
we just don't. We all moved to the City Bowl now, and we're too old to go to those parties. Even
Yeah,
though,
everyone we know has a flat now. But because that was also a cool way though for bands to play. Like, so one of the
I mean, the Joneses they've been having house parties
Yeah.
over the years. They were one of the last few people to live in a house big enough to host parties of that size.
but their
and
house
actually-
parties were never debaucherous.
No, they weren't. But
always
we were
nice
then
and
older.
contained.
Yeah, we absolutely were more mature by that stage. But I'm sure if you interviewed them and asked them about sibling rivalry days, they could tell you. that they
Oh,
had some
yeah, I can
crazy-
imagine, man.
Because that's the way I see it. So
It's just when you're younger.
when
you
I
are,
was
like-
in bands in high school in Flipswitch, we were on like the Queensborough side of Durban, and we remember there being a band called Sibling Rivalry, and those for me were like the two bands in Durban. Even though we were like they were the kids in town, the cooler kids, I think.
Definitely.
And we were looking at them, but we ran at the same time, and it was quite cool after school and through studying to then meet all of those people and become friends and see how we had literally been in the same scene but just brushing past each other. And I think Burn played a big role for all of us now,
Yeah,
where we all got to meet all the people that were into that in one spot, because Burn was crazy, and thousands of people went there every month.
Dude, Burn,
And
like,
lifelong friends were made in Burn over those years. I think I only attended it for 4 or 5 years before it moved across to the other side. But I mean, those were my like optimum years.
I enjoyed both burns, like quite a bit.
I like the next one. That's when I was you became
so
more Old Burn was 17 to 20 was Old Burn,
and then you went overseas for a bit, right?
No, then Old Burn was well, I don't know why I'm thinking about years now, but then it was the next few years, and that's when I was really in my prime, playing in We Still Snowy and His Dying Wish. So we were like playing a burn all the time, the newer burn, the bigger burn, and that's when I think most of the days were. I've got a lot of fond memories from those years. You know, Winston still happening. That burn, Uni 11 had opened up.
That was kind of for us the peak of like the Durban music.
I think so, absolutely. There were 30 bands, you know, 4 venues, constantly playing awesome bands.
You could pick where you wanted to go on a Friday night.
Yeah, I think maybe for you know, people that aren't in the know, for the younger kids now, maybe that's what this scene is for them now, but it's not as big as it was then. Every show was packed out. There were shows across the city all the time. A lot of house parties, a lot of DIY shows.
Yeah.
A lot of bowling park shows. You know, GMT was going on at the time. They were using every venue they wanted. We used to throw shows at the Willowvale all the time.
Yep.
And I suppose that's where my story goes to. So then I moved overseas in like the peak of those times. I left, went to England for about 2 and a bit years. Then I actually went to Italy for a little bit.
Oh yes, I remember that.
And then I came back, and that's when I first moved in with you, I think.
Yeah.
And then... Well, I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, and then, so that's when I started Flip Switch events. And I started because I knew...
I remember
because I knew all the bands from everyone. And I also knew all the venues because I had been in bands. And I'd studied sound engineering, so I had the skills. So that's when I started Flip Switch events. And we started throwing parties all over the place as well. I got involved with the party throwing. A lot at Willowvale and some at Winston, and then especially that club called Vibe Bar, which was next door to the lounge.
Yes, I remember when you did.
So we got like access to that for like 6 months. It almost became like our little club. It was really cool.
I remember you were pushing that, and like there were some cool gigs there.
We threw some really cool shows.
Like there's some photos on the Durban is Yours like Facebook, like from a party we had there. That was just like really, really dope.
Yeah, I think we had Half Price there. We had a load of bands there. It was cool. But the owner eventually kind of screwed us over, as most venue owners always do.
Yep.
You always kind of get to a situation where you think you're doing more for the venue. And it's a classic thing. And that's where now, me being a venue owner, I really... Look, it works from both sides, but I'm really try hard for the artists and for the promoters as well.
To everyone to get something out of it.
To be as fair as possible, because often venue promoters will change their mind after you bring 400 people to their venue. Suddenly the deals change, you know.
Yep.
Suddenly they're sitting at the door and they're like watching you, and it's through all that experience that I think that the Winston Pub is a really nice venue to work with. I try and make it as easy for bands and as fair for everyone, and I'm often on the band side. For other bands playing, you know, I'm very fair when it comes to splitting the door. If that's the deal, you know, make sure. I don't know. It's because, just from my experience. I mean, there is that's what you want.
And there's also a history of bands screwing each other over. And
absolutely, and I remember getting screwed over by New Burn.
Oh yeah,
in a massive way.
People had massive stories about that.
And it's not always the owner's fault, and on the night it might have been a different story, but often managers are involved and musicians are involved, and as soon as you put a whole lot of money into one place, it does get complicated. Yeah, that's why I try to keep it very open booked at the Winston. You know, we use for our biggest shows, we always use bands so that, you know, you can count, this is the deal, this is fair. Getting back to how this long story. So I started Flip Switch events, and I was throwing stuff all over the place, and I started hiring the sound from Joshua Beachy.
Yeah.
And that...
Because his sound was originally at Unity 11.
Yes.
Like he had
It was still at Unity 11 while I was renting, but I would rent it on other nights when they weren't open or something. And one day, it was 1 month where I threw 3 big parties, and I'd paid him, I can't remember what it was, 5,000 or 6,000 rand per day to rent this thing. And it was my business partner at the time, Andrew Bull.
Yeah.
If you remember Andrew, he said, "Why don't we just buy
them.
this? You know, we can go for get a loan. We both got a loan, and we got 100,000 rand, and I kind of just pitched it to. Well, we didn't get the 100 yet, but I just pitched. I said, "How much, Josh, would you sell your system for tomorrow?" And he was like, "Well, I don't know." And I was like, "If I gave you 100,000," and he was like, "You know, I don't." Maybe, because I kind of thought that that's what it was kind of worth, and Uni 11 was set to close, so I knew that was coming to an end, and he kind of wanted to, I think,
Cash
leave.
out and bail,
Yeah. And so he the next day kind of said to me, "Yeah, I'll do that," and we looked into it, and then eventually I offered him 95, and we took, and I bought his whole system.
Skills,
so now Flip Switch Events became not only an events company where I was using venues. I was now renting out sound and lighting, which is cool. And I had the sound engineering background, so I could do it myself. And essentially, I was renting sound to myself at these events, you know.
It would mean you didn't have to like pay that extra amount to
And
if you were throwing the events yourself, and if you were hired, that's included in the charge.
Exactly. And I was renting it to the Winston a lot at that point. The Winston had you could kind of feel it was on its last legs. Belinda herself,
for a while.
Yeah, it had, and Belinda was quite tired. I tell you that my younger brother and I, Luke and I, we still have energy, and it takes it out of us, dude. I'll tell you, it's a full-time mad job to run this venue, even though it's a small venue, but you got a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, a lot of pressure from the music scene as well.
Yeah.
And musicians and staff. I mean, that's the thing. You're dealing with suppliers. It's
a lot of politics.
And so Belinda was tired, you know. And she had done an excellent job. I think at the time
she was also considered the Wicked Witch of the West, like at that place a lot. Like
she had to run. She ran it like nails and bones, you know.
But also when she was running it, there was also a lot more like bikers and a lot more.
A lot of punks. The scene was a punk scene. A lot of rebellious.
A lot more fights.
A lot more fights. You know, she was a woman, you know, but a very strong woman. Had to hold her own, and she did.
Yeah, I saw her fuck up dudes regularly.
You know,
well, not that regularly, but yeah, she would throw you out herself. Put it that way. Like,
absolutely. She ran a tight ship. She tried her best she could, you know.
Yeah, but eventually the pub was going down.
And I was renting sound to her one day, and third or fourth time in a month or two, and we'd become good friends. And she remembered me from being a kid going there years and years ago, and then I'd always been in the music scene. My band had played there a few times. Yeah. So then she actually knew me. And then I think through hiring and stuff, she actually got to know me properly, and she really liked me, and we got along really well. We're still actually great friends now, and I go visit her as often as I can. And I just said to her one day, she was kind of tired and in a bad mood, and said that she's over it. She doesn't want anything else to do with this fucking pub. And I just said to her in passing, not thinking that I could afford it. I just had bought the sound 3 months before, taken out my first loan, you know. And, I just said to her, you know, if you are thinking about it, why don't you give me a call first if you are serious about letting go of the pub? Not thinking that I could afford it, or that was actually...
I didn't even know it was an option, because if I had known, I would have been sourcing money.
Yeah, I don't think it was an option. I think I just pitched that at the right time and maybe made her think, and...
So same thing with like the sound system.
Yeah, it was just in her mind, and it became an option for her, and quite a good option, because she knew that I would do right by her and continue on with the legacy, and that's exactly. And 3 weeks later, I got a call from her just out of the blue. I was doing another event at Columba Coffee for something, and I just remember getting a call and saying, "Hey Matt, it's Belinda. I just wanted to find out if you want to come and meet my son Jethro, so we can talk about the Winston." Now at that point, my brother had got back from England, and he had started working with us in Flip Switch events. And And I said to Andrew and Luke, yo, we can go and have this conversation with Belinda. Just like, while we're working, like, hey, shit, Belinda just called me, we need to go see her. And they were like, I suppose we can. Not even, because for them as well, no one had thought about this. It wasn't an option. The Winston wasn't for sale.
But everyone,
and you could
you know how many people have dreamed of it?
Absolutely. If Belinda had made a thing and said the Winston is for sale, I think
it would have been an auction.
There would have been a lot of people. I don't think.
Although maybe not at that time, because at that time,
look, I don't say a lot of people, but there would have been several people definitely interested.
My hand would have been up,
possibly in the right position to do it.
A lot of different people would have
absolutely.
A lot of different people in bands who, a lot of people who had capital.
Absolutely. I just think.
So it's kind of lucky that there weren't other people in her.
Definitely for us. But at the same time, I think it went to the right person because I was lucky enough to have had, firstly, the bar experience, and I now had managed bars for years. So that alone is its own job. Just
and
being
you've
able
been organizing events.
And I'd been organizing events, and I'd been in bands, and I had a sound system for the Winston,
and a sound engineering degree.
Ready.
So.
That's what I said about all the recipes were there. It made absolute sense that I take it over, And so I went to that meeting, not knowing. I went alone. No, I think I went with Luke. Okay, in these 2 weeks, it was quite strange. Andrew decided to leave Flip Switch Events. He took a study, or he went back to Cockstad for something. And Flip Switch Events was doing all right, but it wasn't crazy, and I ended up buying him out. And so we went into this meeting, just my brother and I, and went and saw Jethro. And we had a little meeting with him, and he kind of, I was wondering how much he's going to say. What is he going to say? Like $1 million, $1.5 million rand. I don't know. How much do you pay for a fucking club?
Yeah. And also, what are you paying for? Because you're taking over the lease, essentially.
Yes, so I just didn't know. And they came, I'm not going to tell you how much we bought it for, but was
a lot less than people would think.
Absolutely. And they were even kind enough to offer us a payment plan, like we could pay it off over a certain amount of months, give them a deposit. And that happened. And so they offered me, and so I went back and I got another loan. And we bought into the Winston. We bought the Winston, and that happened. We signed the papers this week. Next week, Monday, I got the keys. So I knew I was buying it 2 weeks before that. So I had 2 weeks to set up the first party. So we organized it with Fuego Heat, City Walmazes, and Durban Nights.
Yes.
And so we set up this thing. I got the keys on Monday, and we had to renovate and reopen on that Friday, and we made it happen. So we put the Astro into the beer garden. I just remember Friday night.
Yeah, that Astro was a good plan.
We extended the stage, if you remember. We
yes.
repainted everything. We redid the bar. We took down a lot of low hanging wooden beams around.
Yes.
We took all those down. We had to, when we took those down, we realized
there was a lot of stuff behind the bar as well.
There's a lot of electrics running through these huge beams. So then we had to get everything rewired. And we did this all in 4 days. It was crazy. It was awesome. My girlfriend at the time was painting. Luke was painting. All our friends were there. Literally. And what was quite cool, the week before we took it over, I called kind of like a meeting with everyone. I think you were there, everyone that I kind of thought was involved in the music scene and in the bands. And I called everyone to the Winston, and we all had a dream, and we were talking about what should we do? What would you like to do? And so I kind of went in with everyone's vision. And we pulled it off. And a lot of those people came back the next week and helped us. And that Friday night, we've still been, to record, the busiest the Winston Pub's ever been.
Really?
We've never topped that night. It was, I don't know.
Damn.
We've had some crazy shows after that.
Fuck you. I know
you've thrown some bad ass.
No,
that was still the fullest we've ever been.
I think that Phantasma gig that I did might have been the biggest one I did there. The one with, the Across the Rest of the Universe one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was cool.
Although, I don't know if that one was big or just necessarily cool because everyone was dressed up, so it looked rad. I mean, it was busy as fuck. And, that was the first time I got, a solid sponsorship for a gig. Jaeger gave me 20K, and, I was able to just pay for the band, and was just, super
that's, so that's kind of where we are. Here we are 6.5 years later, and a lot's happened since then.
Yeah, like it's
you've thrown loads of parties there. You know, I think the whole music scene, we've opened it up to a platform for not only bands but also promoters. To we almost take everything. We're happy to work with anyone.
Yeah,
We've
because you've done drum
very
and bass,
proud to
you've
make
done...
it extremely diverse across genres. And
But the Winston's always kind of had that, but towards the last few years of its existence before you guys took it over, it was very metal based.
definitely very metal and
And unfortunately, like, you know,
hardcore punkish as well towards the last few years. You know.
and while, you know, that was a time and a place that doesn't necessarily exist in the same numbers that it did before. So the Winston was hurting because it was trying to appeal to, you know, one narrow audience that was dying out almost.
Yeah, and it just so happened that as we took it over, other venues started closing down.
That was also it. So
Unit
died
11 closed down.
and Burn.
Burn closed down.
Live eventually.
Live opened and then also closed down just after 3 years. It's not easy to run a venue, firstly. That just shows you that.
Yeah, but that was also legalities with Live at times. They had those issues. But Burn also, same thing. Like, I would say their biggest issue was also just trying to cater to one type of market.
I think Burn would still be open if they had changed the people they were marketing to. It was still the same music that I used to love 5 years before, but like
you can't keep listening to that.
I've heard enough of I'm not disturbed.
Yeah. Disturbed. Oh, God, yeah.
And it just didn't grow for me, and it closed down, and it sucks, dude.
It had a big impact.
I'm sad at the moment.
I think a lot of people have left the city
that there
because
aren't
of it.
more venues in the city right now.
Yeah, because of
we are the only music venue. Not only, there is Cool Runnings who have also opened up their doors to shows, which is cool.
Yeah, they're doing a lot more at the moment.
Years. They're also doing comedy now, and that's cool. And so, but I still think that we need more venues in Durban. It's good for me to have the monopoly, but in the long run, the actual scene is dying.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely.
But also, kids these days aren't necessarily like, they don't have that DIY spirit, man, like that, you know, we used to have. Because Unit 11, Burn, and Live existed, like, and the Winston existed at one point in time. Like, it wasn't like they all existed together, like, for
absolutely,
long. Like,
for
before
long,
that.
No. Before that, we were using...
That was it. And then we were doing sports clubs.
Every sports club. I mean, Westville, the Train of Sprocket, Westville, Mandine.
Yeah, Chilton, that was it.
Mandine.
And Bila Congela.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was that one on the bluff,
bowling club. Yeah, the bowling club near...
the Berea one, no.
No, yeah, in Morningside... near Greyville Racecourse. Anyway, we used to use every venue we could.
Yeah, we just approached sports clubs.
A lot of church halls. I remember playing in church halls all the time.
And they would, like, you know, it would be heavy music. Like, and they would be...
You are right. I haven't really thought about it that much. There isn't a lot of DIY stuff.
The scene created itself almost. Like... You know, through... Like,
yeah, also, kids, come on, sort the shit out.
Also, it's weird because I think the internet, like, galvanized us before, and it might be making people complacent now. Because whereas, you know, before, that's where we all found each other, and we all, like, found these cool bands that we liked, and, like, you know, we all, like, would find similar bands that we all, like, liked and shared them with each other and stuff like that. Whereas now you've just got so much different shit. It's hard to have an identity. It's hard to have, like, a scene necessarily. Yeah. Like... I don't know, maybe I'm just old as fuck now, and like I'm looking at the kids and going,
you're right to a certain degree, you know. I think nothing would be the same as that, but you know, as I said, maybe through our eyes we don't see that. I think through someone else's eyes, like Cam, who you spoke to last week, maybe it feels a little different for him. They're constantly playing. Yeah, in several different bands,
but that's the thing. He's got like 5 different bands. It's
a
different.
But I mean, that kind of little crew. And
back in the day, there would be 5 different bands. Now Cam's just in 5 different bands.
Yeah,
like, you know.
I mean,
it used to be rare for people to be in multiple bands at one time. Like,
yeah.
But people would then be in a band, break up, like start a new band with like different people from different bands, and like.
I'd say there were like 100 musicians. Constantly working and creating and making shit happen.
But there is a different... So that was more, I guess, in the rock scene. And these days, like, if you look at the jazz cats, like all the kids coming out of UK.
They are doing
and like the hip hop kids. Like if you look at the stuff like happening at S43 and like the stuff that Ryan's doing and that's, you know, the cats that he's working with, there is that kind of scene developing.
Yes, there is. So let's not be blind to that. I think
we're talking more about the alternative rockier,
the rock and roll scene.
Yeah, but the Winston's also, I mean, it's not just a place to play rock music, because like we were saying, like drum and bass parties, fucking.
Well, that's what I think. That's what I was saying earlier, is that it's our responsibility to open up our doors to everyone. I think even S43, awesome venue, but like a really expensive venue to do stuff in. They can't just open up their doors to you that with your 20 friends, where we are happy to do that to a certain degree and literally mold kids from their first show to their 12th one, and then hopefully they can move on and start doing even bigger things, like a lot of the promoters we have and photographers and musicians that we've worked with. We're definitely a stepping stone, but we just don't want everyone to forget about us. Like, we're still here.
Actually, let's talk about like some of the international bands you've had there. You've had Comeback Kid, you've had Darkest Hour. These are bands we used to listen to together, man.
Like, fully had their t-shirts before the band came to South Africa. A lot of dreams come true type of stuff.
Yeah, so which some of the favorite like international acts you managed to see like in your venue?
I mean, you just named the two of them, so
those the two.
I mean, we've had loads of cool. We've had a lot of kind of hardcore bands from Europe in the last few years. Slander from Italy were amazing. Godmother from Sweden. We've had them. Dude, we've had them twice now, and that is, it was just awesome, you know. Some of my favorite shows, you know, Go Go Broncos last show. I watched a music video from that the other day, and I'm going to share it tomorrow. I'll share the Shotgun House video, which is just
the one that Ali did.
No, it's Brandon Fanetta, and he's filming from the side, the live video.
Oh, cool.
And it's, I mean, it just gives you goosebumps, and it will show you exactly what every show was like every weekend. Almost.
That show in particular.
That show, people drove down from Joburg.
Yeah, that show was the Rising Ends last show. But that's what I say. Like, it was weird because our scene kind of mimicked the international scene. Because you look at hardcore shows overseas at that time, you look at bands overseas at that time. The reverence people had, it was a time and place. You know, it was a spirit. It was a general thing that I think like can't be recreated. Like, people can still create hardcore music now, but I don't know if it will hit the same way. Like, you know, hardcore shows these days just don't feel the same. Like, they can't feel the same. They're not.
Yeah, I think we've surpassed that. We're all looking for those. We all remember the golden years.
But what do you think the future now of like heavy music in Durban is? Because you look like there's Mouse, there's Black Math, you know, like that. There's on that like more psych garage rock side, like metal. There's metal, but metal is like.
I don't know. Look, there's the hardcore bands in Durban. There's none more of those really. Even Life Below, but they've played two shows in the last 2 years.
Yeah, they don't have anywhere to practice.
You know, I'm jamming codes. I think we're not quite hardcore like that.
You guys are more.
We're kind of there. But we're the only one, you know. But there are some epic metal bands. So
why do you make metalcore hardcore like with codes if you know that there's?
It's our favorite style of music to play. We come from that generation, and when we play shows, we still feel the energy. I mean, people still dig it.
Yeah.
So it's still there. There's still. I don't know if it's growing, and I don't know if there should be 10 bands like us. But like Facing the Gallows and that type of thing, they still pull a crowd. They still
they're one of the bands that like
have stood the test of time. You know,
it's crazy.
There is there's still people out there that enjoy that music. It is fun music to listen to. I think that Durban, we're definitely moving into that kind of psych heavy music.
We have been
vibe,
for a while,
but we've got some epic metal bands. So bad on the spot.
Well, Vulvodynia is probably the one.
Obviously, Vulvodynia, but that's a different.
Not just a Durban band either.
That's a different type of thing. No, they don't. And you know, I've always said that Durban has the talent. We've always had the talent, and Vulvodynia is a clear sign of that. That was curated by like Durban. Their first 3 shows were at the pub, and now they're the biggest metal band in South Africa, or slam band. You know, they just play.
They're not even the biggest band in South Africa because South Africans don't know them, but they're the biggest South African like
in the world.
Overseas,
huge. Absolutely, which is so wild. I mean, that's.
But and also
their videos get 1 million views, like
yeah.
quite often. It's
And
pretty
they're
scary.
all good musicians. That's how they are
They
able
are.
to do that. It's like they were able to create the stuff that they wanted to create. Like, and they knew that it would had an audience outside of South Africa. Might not have had like an audience, you know, in their direct vicinity, but they knew that they could do that internationally.
Yeah.
Whereas, so that's kind of the
No, we
problem
just
for
had the
you-
whack and metal battle.
Yeah, that was
And
big.
that was really well supported. It was really big. I mean, last year in December,
this
our
was-
biggest show that we had at the pub in December, we had some really awesome shows. Was also a metal show. We had 4 bands from Mozambique come down, and wow, dude! At 7 o'clock, you could not walk inside the Winston Pub. You know, there's still those the real metal supporters that are out there. Not so much the young kids, but I mean, I think they'll be going to shows forever. So metal is not dead. What's that band called? I'm trying to remember.
I was gonna say also in terms of other venues though that might be contributing to the metal scene is Gasoline Alley a little bit.
Yeah, Gasoline Alley is opening up its doors to bands. There is no metal scene there. Like, there's this biker bar.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they've actually had any metal shows there, but they are having
Okay.
rock shows, alternative shows. Like,
Okay.
Ride Off played there.
Yeah, okay,
Harbingers
I thought-
played there. They've done Alt Fest, and that's
Yeah,
also
Alt Fest
like
was what I
like
was
New
thinking.
Jersey and the Pom Poms. Like,
Oh,
that's
so
really
not like actually. Oh, so I
Not
was,
metal
I was
at
thinking that
all.
would be a metal place because of the name
not
Gasoline
at
Alley and
all.
everything.
Like, I think a lot of old metal fans are going there, but they're still listening to like all these yesterdays are playing there.
Okay.
That type of stuff. And Old Fest is well supported as well. You know,
Yeah,
hundreds
that's
of
been
people
growing-
going to that,
that's
which
been
is
growing
really
a lot.
cool.
So there are like little pockets of things happening still.
Absolutely.
Whereas like there is this general perception that, you know, the old scene is dead because Burn died and because
Yeah,
the Winston's no longer just, you know, for the alternative kids.
Absolutely. And I mean, we had another
get-
show we did was the tribute show in December.
Oh yes, I remember.
And that was so well supported by other people.
Yeah, I
and-
fucking hate that though.
No,
Like,
no. I was just about to say, a few people don't like that, but let me tell you this. So, it's not only you that didn't like it. A lot of bands are like, oh, you know, people don't come out to our shows. I'm like, okay, dude,
But get them there,
people,
show them that they like can
yeah,
enjoy
people
the live show.
enjoy watching live music. Clearly, people don't know who you are. Actually, don't be bummed that people don't know, or don't come to your show. When did you make a sticker last, or when did you put anything out there? How many followers do you have? When last did you post on Facebook?
Yeah, how many
A lot
recordings
of
do you have?
bands, a lot of established bands are lazy as fuck. A lot of them have 400 likes.
But dude-
I'm playing for Harbingers recently. I'm putting Harbingers down. We're a great band. I just started playing bass for them. Harbingers have 370 likes. 100 of those since I got them. That band's 4 years old.
Yeah, that's not
Now,
great.
it's just talking about, I'm saying you still
And
have
that's
to
all-
put
and
the
everyone-
effort out there.
and
It's not
everyone-
like back in the day when you played in a band, you could like go out and people would be there to watch you.
The
You
annoying-
have to
dude,
put the effort in.
The annoying thing with that is also everyone in the band is a musician. Like they've been in other bands. Like they've done things.
Exactly,
So,
dude. Why aren't you doing it the right? There
Like,
is a way to
this
do it.
podcast
Volvadinia
has more.
followed like a slight recipe, and those people have hundreds of thousands of likes on Facebook. They make merch, and that's what a lot of Joburg bands and Cape Town bands do.
Yep.
They have awesome merch. Every band that comes to Durban
they
plays
have a-
merch.
they have a business
Show me
mind.
a Durban band in the last
but
3
but to be
years that
comple-
printed
But
merch.
to be completely honest, Black Math.
Well, I don't have a.
What do you mean?
Not a, yeah.
There's
Okay, no,
multiple
no.
Black
Don't get me
Math
wrong.
bands, but anyway.
Black Math. You're talking about like the biggest band we have in Durban. They
And
have
Mouse.
to have a fucking merch.
But what was I gonna say there? Oh fuck, I can't remember.
There's a lot more merch back in the day, and I just think bands aren't putting you,
also,
like a
the
lot
thing
of
that- no, the
complacency
thing is-
within the music
No,
scene.
the thing is that what I quite like about Durban though is that people are making music to make music, kind of. You know, like they're not trying to get rich. They're not trying to be successful. They're not running it as
Yeah.
a business. That's also why they don't succeed.
This is cool, but then don't
Like-
get bummed when people come and watch like a tribute because
It's
those
marketed
bands
and
have
hurt
been
them.
marketed for years, and we actually put a lot of effort into marketing that, and that's why people came out. Yeah, maybe if you put a little bit more effort into your brand and your band, people will come watch your show.
Is that one of the frustrations you have, like, as the owner? Is that, you know, because obviously for you, like, you know, the band's bringing in people matters. Like, you know, because you're not the promoter. You're the venue.
No, I'm not, but that's not how it is anymore. I actually have to promote every show now. And not every show. Some shows do promote themselves.
And some of the bands
and some of the bigger ones
do their jobs.
some of them do it, but often not. Hey? And if I don't do anything,
no one shows up.
there will be 12 people at that show because we are a destination bar. We're not a bar that people come
You
to
don't just
just
walk
on the
past.
off chance. No, there's something happening, and you have to see it. And that's what we've been doing this year, and that's why the pub's been really busy this year because we've been running everything 6 weeks before.
I mean, I did tell you that.
I don't want to
years ago.
use this as an example, but on Thursday night we have a band called Shackles and Bones from Cape Town playing, and Mouse are playing with them, and someone called Dave Glover is also playing with them. Now it's Tuesday today. There are 19 people on the event coming. So I went and checked out the event now. Now I've already spent 100 Rand on putting a post onto this. I went and just checked how many people are invited to this show. 357. I invited 354. So these people haven't invited one person to their Facebook event, nor shared it once. Like, how do you think people are going to come to the show? Fact of the matter is, anyone that comes to the Winston on Thursday night is going to go there because
They
of
know
what
that
I
something's
did,
happening.
because of what I pushed, and not to do with the bands at all. And it sucks for me because I'm not charging these bands to use the venue, so they're going to
But
put.
it's still costing you.
They're going to
money.
make money on the door, and it costs me hella. You know, I do. We're a real venue, and it costs me so much to operate every month, and I have a weekly target that I have to hit to
keep the doors
to
open.
keep the doors open.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I even get that frustration with the comedy scene because people would be on the poster and they wouldn't share it.
I treat everyone like children now. So not like children. Don't get me wrong. It's not all bad. But what I do now before every event is I open up a Facebook messaging group with every single band member in every single band, including their managers or whoever's involved in the show, and I make a mass thing and I talk to them like children. No, I don't talk to them like children, but
you lay everything out.
I remind them. I'm like, guys, it's a week to the show. Please, can you share it? Don't forget to invite your friends. And then I go check the friends and I do a screenshot and I send it around. I'm like, you guys haven't invited anyone yet. I don't know who's not pulling the weight, but if you could just, you just have to. And it is, we are all old and we are all busy, and this isn't our full-time job. And I'm a professional, so I'm happy
don't
to.
do that though? Why do you think bands don't do
Maybe
that?
they don't realize that you have to. Maybe, in
maybe they're tired of
Joburg and Cape
inviting all
Town,
their
maybe some
friends.
bands there are spoilt a little bit because there's enough people just to be at the show at any time. But
so
I
do you
don't
find
think
this with touring bands? At that?
a lot with touring bands, they just assume that people are just going to be at the venue. A lot of touring bands aren't.
Have they never
big
spoken
bands.
to each other
So
about Durban?
If Fuzzigish comes to the Winston Pub, people will come and watch them.
Yeah, but
They
even
do.
then, the word's got to get out there.
Yeah, exactly. If people, did you know about the show on Thursday?
Which show? This one you're just telling me
Yes.
about now? No.
Now you are a prominent person in the
Yeah. Oh, dude, I laugh about it so much. Like, just when I was on DYR and stuff and people complaining about not being on radio, and I was like, I've put my email address out here 1,000,000 times and you've never sent me anything.
Absolutely.
Like, it was very easy for people to get their music on DYR when I was there. Like, just send it to me. If it was good, I would give it to the music compiler and it would be on air. That's how people got on air.
That's how you get on air, guys. Like, people don't come and find you.
Yeah, you just have to. Exactly. I mean, I do find certain people and keep my ear to. I mean, these days
Obviously.
I don't because I'm not part of the radio anymore. Like, I write about music, and so I've obviously got to stay in touch with what's happening. But yes, people pitch like their own stuff all the time.
That's kind of my point to this whole thing is that everyone has to put effort into this.
Yeah.
I don't know why people aren't anymore. As you said, back in the day, people were DIY. If it wasn't, you weren't lucky enough to have a venue doing this all for you. You were doing it all yourself. You were actually printing flyers and asking your friends to come to the shows.
Well, at Burn, you got paid for certain gigs based on the number of flyers that got brought in for
Yeah.
you. Like,
I played one or two of those, and let me tell
they
you, dude,
worked.
we went out and we handed flyers out.
Yeah. And it worked because people came with the flyers and you got paid more.
Yeah, you got 10 rand per flyer, essentially.
Yeah. So
And-
that's pretty great because you also got a basic, like, it was like $500 or something, and then an extra 10 Rand per flyer, which, cool, 200 people come with a flyer. That's $2,000 for your band. That's $2,500. You guys were going to make 500.
Absolutely. No, you have to put effort in. And so, to get back to that point, is I do a hell of a lot of marketing behind all the bands. I think we have to. I can't sit back and just think, oh, we did that for a few years ago, the scene was so good. And I think you were saying, Matt, you need to be more proactive. And last year showed us that, because we had some cool shows, but a lot of them weren't really that well supported. It was the quietest year we've had last year. But this year so far has been one of the busiest we've had since the first year. We've been so busy, and that's just us, my brother and I, being very proactive.
Yeah, even stuff like getting, the pizza in, which allows, people to eat.
Absolutely. We're trying to get access to early market now. We're doing something on Thursdays now called Open Stage. So we're really pushing that to university students. We've actually printed flyers.
Oh, no, and Rowan and Raheem were giving them to
we've got we've got a small street team in the universities working now. So Thursday night. Ooh. I'm good. That's good. That would have been bumming.
Yeah, it would be a little sad.
Sorry guys, I just dropped a glass.
I think they figured that out.
So we're just being quite proactive, and Thursdays are getting better and better and better with kids that I haven't seen them before, and excellent musicians. So I also believe in consistency. If you throw an event and you want to start doing it monthly, or weekly, keep on doing it, and people will come if you keep on putting the effort in.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, eventually, as we did with underground comedy recently, we've stopped doing that. I think it needed a little bit of a freshen up.
Yeah.
But
same with like Carpe Durban, before.
Yeah.
Eventually, that had a good time.
There's only so long. I think the same thing happened with GMT. It does happen. But again, I think everything has a peak period. So
Durban does just have that. It's got its seasons. Everything survives for a while, but the Winston's one of the things that survived the longest.
No, I think it's the longest running venue in the country. Definitely live music venue, and possibly
really more than any of the Cape Town places.
Yeah,
you sure?
Definitely.
Okay.
And
I'm gonna fact check after this.
Fact check it. And the only, I think, rumors in Joburg, but they've moved venues and changed hands a few times, but I think they may be a little bit older. So I think it's it's definitely up there as the...
You need to get those stats so you can claim some shit. But also I guess people don't know how much the Winston changed, because Origin didn't exist before, when we used to go to the Winston, back in the day.
Actually, yeah, Winston's two stories back in there. Remember, we had full access to the whole hotel, actually.
Well, yeah, we
kind of break into.
Exactly. There were places you weren't really meant to go, but if you wanted to have a good time with someone, you could find some dark areas up the stairs. But yeah, the wood bar for
a long time.
The wood bar for Origin was actually the pool bar for the Winston. And the balcony where you walk in at Origin was actually the balcony where half of the Durban music scene used to hang out every Friday.
And all those rooms down going towards the other side of Origin. Those were all band rooms. Yeah. And before that, I mean...
That building's been the home of
before
Durban
that,
music for so long.
In the 80s
and
90s, that was the ladies' bar was upstairs.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And the Indian bar was in the parking lot.
Oh, wow.
Hey?
The Indian bar.
How hectic it was. Yeah, the coloured bar was in the parking lot. Men's bar downstairs, ladies' bar upstairs. That's the history this place carries, which makes you shake in your skin. But that's how old it is.
Yeah, I mean, my grandfather used to go.
It's literally, that's one of my favorite things is many people get to be not only my dad, my grandpa told me stories about
going to the Winston for a Sunday roast.
Yeah, really ridiculous. I think there was Friday strip lunches at one point.
Oh, wow.
It's carried a lot of history.
And it's
it was the Argyle Hotel before.
Yes, that's what it was called before, the Argyle. And then it's the Winston, named after Winston Churchill.
It's named after Winston Churchill, yes, because... And look, I was
going to say, have you ever thought about changing the name?
I haven't, because it holds such history. Everyone knows the Winston. I don't think... anyone thinks of it as the Winston Churchill, but possibly.
No one does. I don't think... I think
we always joked about opening up a second one and calling it Churchill's.
Yeah, that I think would be whack.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what I heard and what I was told, and I would like to go and get this fact checked. But the bars all the wood that the bars are built is from the ship that Winston Churchill came to South Africa on.
Huh. I mean, it's not a story.
That's why it was then converted to the Winston Hotel after the Argyle.
Huh. I wonder, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you could get that fact checked and verified. That would be pretty cool to just know that. Like, fuck, it's just had so many different iterations. Like, we used to party in the parking lot.
Yeah, we used to. Absolutely, we was partying a lot.
Rocked a lot. Like, that used to be a thing.
I mean, it was such a precinct because Bern was around the corner and then Winston was here. We used to rock the lot, and in the park across the road. That's where I met a lot of my best friends in that park, you know.
Yeah, just smoking weed like
normal
in the park.
cigarettes, you know, as we did in the park.
Yeah, well, I smoked tons of weed in the park there. It was like, yeah, the little doom joint. But yeah, fuck, there was so much like shenanigans going on. And since you guys have taken over, like, what's the culture like in the place? Like, do you see it like being calmer than it used to be? Like I would assume, like, I don't see as many fights, or there are still some. I mean, I've been in a few of them, but like,
look, I'd say my brother and I are just different. I don't know, me personally, I don't like fighting. So from day one, we were very anti-fighting at the pub. Not even for like jokes, like it's not funny. Get out, you know. We weren't afraid of kicking people out.
Oh yeah, because that used to be the thing, was like guys would like play around,
fight, and then eventually got more hectic. You know, as soon as we'd see a fight, we had quite a cool, you know, people believed in what we did, and the pub kind of changed their idea, you know, from being a pub where 30 people were there every week to being a pub where hundreds of people were coming there, and people really loved the fact that we'd changed it. They were now proud of their new venue, and I think everyone's just kept it cleaner you know, they've just respected us. We've had 5 fights, 6, 7 fights in 7 years. I mean...
Oh, wow.
That fights that are of relevance.
Oh, fuck, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 3 of those are yours. Out of the... and yours weren't even real ones at all, you know.
3?
I don't know, 2.
2.
Eh?
2 that I... Wait. Yeah, I remember...
there was a court throwing at one stage as well. I don't know if that counts as a fight.
That's the one I can remember. Like, because I went out and... grip the guy around the neck, and the other one was outside.
Yeah, we threw a sucker punch.
I didn't throw a sucker punch.
It wasn't a sucker punch, but the guy wasn't ready for your punch.
I wasn't ready for his friend to punch me whilst I was fucking him up.
Yeah, it was, I remember that.
I got sucker punched.
I got that on camera. I got that recorded somewhere.
Yeah, like the guy punch shared that with everyone. Like, and I was like, why would you share that? Like,
yeah, we've had no serious fights. Origin is 1,000 times more fights than us. We still hire security. We actually only hire a bouncer because of any fights from Origin or people that come in from Origin. Also, to be honest, the area itself has gone down quite a bit. So there's a lot of drugs on the street across the road. We've got a security guard there all the time, and you're safe on our pavement and across the road. But don't go into the park. Don't buy stuff from people on the street.
Just in general, don't buy drugs from people on the street.
Yeah, like, if you don't have his number, don't buy it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, because
it's very dangerous. You don't know what you're buying.
Well, of course.
And they are trying to sell to Origin. So Origin getting 1,000 people. If just 100 of those or 10 of them buy, those guys are stoked.
Yeah, because they're selling you whatever random shit they've got for.
But so that's the only thing that's not that cool. That's why we are high security now. It's just to watch the people from outside, some of the hobos coming inside, begging possibly, and for any fights from Origin. Otherwise, we're not too worried.
That's dope because it used to always have.
I love that it's a safe zone. I think it's such a happy, diverse state. It could be your first. It's so cute actually. We've got all these new kids coming in. This year.
I've also been noticing that.
And
it's so dope.
The first few times, like their parents would come and drop them off, and I would literally introduce myself to the parents. The next time they like greeting me. Now they don't come anymore. Now they just drop their children because they know it's a safe space.
And I guess
I'm
it's
proud
cool
to be
because
there.
you're still young as well. Like you're in your 30s.
Yeah.
So that's what's kind of cool is that you can do that. Like you don't look like out of place. You don't look too old. Like, you don't look like, a sketchy nightclub owner.
Yeah.
Like essentially,
Yeah.
So you can actually, and that's really cool that you do that you do greet like the parents and stuff. And like, because the Winston has always been the place where, you go when you're like first starting out in the scene, where you're first trying to discover. Like I remember the first time I watched bands, was at the fucking Winston, dude.
Because you couldn't get into Burn. Or at the time, being back in the day.
Yeah, like, and then from there going to other places and finding out like more about music. But it's been such an integral part of the Durban scene, and it's cool that like you are still focused
We were
on
very
that.
lucky, as I said, and you heard the story, to take it over. And we are very proud to have taken over, and we are working hard to keep it alive. We want to maintain what it's about, and do good. And we want to help the Durban music scene grow as a total.
Yeah, well, what are the
That's our
plans
plan.
from here on out? Because as we've chatted, I've heard lots and lots of different like ideas and stuff like that. So, like, what are the immediate like future vibes?
Look, at the moment, as I said, we've upped our game, and we've upped our kind of connection with sponsors. We're now speaking to bigger brands who are looking at getting involved. Yamaha, possibly redoing our stage.
Oh wow!
And we just want to get the Winston to an optimal space. I've really been dreaming of opening up something similar to what you've got here, a little radio station. Or maybe not a radio station, but an area at the pub for interviews to happen and to be recording. I think that's very important. We dream of getting some funding, possibly from arts and culture or someone like that. And we could quite easily convert our stage into a little day studio. If you put glass doors across the stage and across the drum area, imagine we could have a studio free for anyone to come and record because it's funded by the city. We're the last standing music venue. So we're kind of just upping our game and hoping that we could get some sponsorship and get other people interested enough to invest in us and to support us, because we are supporting the music scene. I think we're one of the last.
Yeah, well, for the kind of music like scene that you're talking about, because there's a jazzy rainbow, like, but obviously
Absolutely.
more focused on jazz and people who have studied music and are in that space. Same thing, kind of. Well, Rainbow Jazz Lounge has a bit more of a open philosophy, but also still it's in the name, Jazz Lounge,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Jameson's is tiny and that's hip hop based, like, so I get you, like, obviously
This is a safe space for the punk gothic. Also, like, we've been doing a lot of rap recently.
but that's
a
also
lot
what I was
of the
saying is
underground.
what's cool about it crosses over. So it's not just rock music, it's also hip hop, it's also different forms of electronica have been there for quite a while. Like, it's there've been trance nights, there've been drum and bass nights.
As I saw all the other venues closing, I knew that it was our responsibility to be a home for, I think you wrote it down, punks, misfits, and
orphans, music,
music orphans, and just and for everyone, So as you said, we're happy to throw drum and bass parties, we're happy to throw hip hop parties, we're happy to throw heavy metal parties, we're happy to throw acoustic parties, we're happy to throw like we could just be carrying going.
Any chance of a Winnie Fest happening again?
Yeah, absolutely. We are.
Because you did throw a festival a little while ago, and then
look, we're utilizing the parking lot again with Zakifo this year, which is going to be cool. But we definitely want to throw one in November or December. We've been talking about it for a while. We've been threatening to do it.
Just need to get the licensing and everything.
Yeah,
like that
and Zakifo going to kind of put us in touch with all the right people now, so we can learn the easiest way to get it done.
So when is Zakifo and what's happening with that?
Zakifo is on the 24th of May.
Okay, so that's next month. Cool.
And it's going to be really cool.
You guys have which nights is your night?
Yeah, so every year they use a different venues, or that's what they've been doing.
Venues,
so our venue has been selected this year, and we're on the Friday night. It's the opening night for Zakifo.
And you've got like makeovers.
We've got makeovers playing, which is really cool. So what they're doing is they've hired Origin, the engine room, the Winston Pub, and the parking lot. So they're activating all three spaces.
Sick.
The parking lot is going to be for the really big bands. There's a band, Grandma from Mozambique are playing. There's another band from it's kind of, I think it's a DJ from Switzerland, like a crew. And then we've got Mute from Germany, which are a marching band.
I saw some stuff, like
they're epic, just like the Youngblood Brass Band. But even better. Their music videos got 18 million views and onwards. They are huge. And what they do, they're going to be walking down Clark Road, down the alley, playing onto this huge stage. That's how the entrance is going to be. This is like I think it's a 12-piece big band. It's gonna be so cool. And then Makeovers and another band are playing in the engine room. So actually, no DJs in the engine room. Dude, they are building a stage in the engine room.
Well, we've had bands. No, they haven't been bands in the. No, we did. Fruit and Veggies and Go Bronco played.
Yeah. So what they're doing now is if the DJ box is here on the other side, they're setting up a big stage.
Where the bar is.
The first bar, yeah.
Yeah, cool. That'll work. I like that actually. That'll be a cool.
It's going to
space.
be awesome, and we're putting a lot of effort into it. I think it's going to be really cool.
And then, I'm going to be putting this out tomorrow. So this weekend you've got Teenage Bottle Rocket.
Yes, which has not come out of nowhere, but which is quite a nice surprise. We've got Teenage Bottle Rocket from America playing. They're hitting South Africa just before they go on their European tour, which is also like a 17-dated show across Europe, which is really cool. Look, they're quite an old punk band. I think they're making a comeback. They've just put out a new album and a music video, and now they're touring the world. They've been booked onto some really big festivals. In the States. Anyway, so yeah, we're quite lucky that they're coming to South Africa. And then we got contacted by them to play at the show. And it's going to be a sellout show, but essentially we're limiting tickets because I think we're going to limit it to 300 people only because there's 6 bands playing. I mean, it's them, Fuzzigish, which is going to bring, I think they're going to bring a few hundred people just by themselves.
Yeah.
So if you are listening to this, I would suggest getting your tickets now. It's going to be the coolest show of the year. Fuzzigish, Misled have
oh wow!
Misled are playing. I know they
were one of my early shows at Mandian Sports Club.
Yeah, they've made a comeback.
Pirate Party.
I remember that. Yeah, yeah, I remember that. Oh shit, we had lost. Yeah, so they're playing. Monday Morning Justice from Pretoria are playing.
Oh, I don't know them.
They're a cool band from Pretoria. They actually, the guy Conley is organizing the entire tour.
Okay,
his
cool.
Band. And then Harbingers are playing as well.
I've heard of them.
Yes. And it's going to be a fun show. It's not often that you get internationals coming down, and it's always you can feel something in the air. And for them, often the same as Comeback Kid and Darkest Hour, these bands haven't played in a venue my size for a long time.
Yeah, like they're used to playing big stages and stuff. So
absolutely,
they love like getting to like play.
Yeah, absolutely. Where people are literally they're sweating on your guitar while you play.
Yeah, like the last time they played to like 200 people, like was a failure for them.
10 years ago, or even longer, 20 years ago. So it's really cool. It's always a lot of fun. And I'm really excited for this weekend. It's happening at the same time as Splashy Fen, but I don't think many people. Splashy Fen's changed this whole game.
So much. Actually, before we close this, you want to talk about the Winston Lot?
Yes, I do actually.
Okay, so yeah, like a few years back, we worked together on a stage at Splashy Fen called the
area.
In a whole area, a whole cordoned off area that people had to pay a separate amount to get into, which is still not our decision. Okay, actually, just so people know that, like, because people complain to me about the fact that they had to
pay extra.
Yeah, you had to pay extra to come into our section of like Splashy Fen. And this was when the old owner was there. This wasn't the current guys, but it did cause a bit of issues for us. But we still managed to pull quite a lot of people into the Winston Lot, and we booked we
booked 25 bands from across the country.
Yeah, dude, like I had to negotiate with them. I had to like organize tons of stuff. Like that was like my first like big lineup kind of thing that like I was mostly in charge of. Like, yeah, dude, like that was crazy. Like I still remember, just Conqueror like killing it like on that stage, and like it was an awkward kind of vibe. We DIY'd it so hard. Like I remember just the awning or the tent being a little low.
Yeah, we had a low budget for it. We hired, I think it was a 20 by 30 meter marquee, the biggest we could afford. We didn't realize how low it was.
We didn't get poles that were big enough.
And so, the drummer had to, if he stood up, he would hit his head on the on the tent. But we did a great job. It was so much fun. We brought down, I approached Johnny's Roddies. That was the first time they ever came to Splash Fen.
Yeah, and people loved that.
Yeah, I actually got to know the family that owns Johnny's Roddies, and I'm friends with them today. Actually, I speak to them all the time, which is really cool. they went a few years after that. I think they did 2 or 3 years after that. I don't know if they're doing this year. But the Winston lot was so much fun. We had awesome branding. You know, my friend Stuart and Carr, remember they
did all the
designed
posters
awesome
and everything.
posters. We wrestlers were booked. I think
they couldn't make it, unfortunately. But we also
family thing.
We also had Conqueror. Like I said, we had. City Ball didn't play our stage, but they jawled at our stage on the time they played main.
But we had Captain Stu.
We had Captain Stu
facing the gallows.
We had that Sublime tribute.
Your Single Sanity played. We had the Sublime tribute. I mean, we had 25 acts very neatly put across Thursday to Saturday.
Yeah, different genres, different vibes, but mostly on the heavier side of things.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We had 4 nights?
Did we do Sunday?
Yeah, because we had 25 bands. And we had basically 6 on each night.
Nights, okay.
And I think we had a 7th one on the main night or on the Friday.
Fuck, that was such a long time ago.
We did movies, late night movies.
And I remember, I was meant to be the stage manager.
WizKid Media, WizKid.
Oh yes, the radio. Yes.
Yeah, WizKid Radio. They were like
WizKid
a
Radio
kind of
Beta.
sponsor.
Yes, and they. I remember that they did like some live recording stuff.
Oh, that was epic. We had such a good year that year.
Yeah, it's a pity that just the people, well, not the people, the person who was running stuff from Splashy side that year was a bit greedy, and because I feel I actually wrote a whole article about it afterwards. The year afterwards, I wrote about why I was going back to Splashy and stuff, and a large portion of it was because of the experience that we had, and Uber Cool also had a bad experience in terms of just getting enough funds, having to sell our own tickets to this extra part of the festival, made it very difficult.
What happened for me, to be honest, the worst thing is that I didn't mind. I knew that I think the deal was we'd give Splash Fan half of the money we made on our tickets. And then on the day you could upgrade. If you bought a Splashy Fan ticket, I think our tickets were more expensive.
Yeah.
But if you upgraded your Splashy Fan ticket at Splashy Fan, you could pay an extra 100, 150 rand. You could buy a day pass. It was very segregated. Where, for me, it made all the sense for us to be a team of Splash Fan, just to be another section free and open for everyone. We were just a different type, a little bit more, maintaining that blunt stage.
But he was just trying to get in more income.
The problem is that where it all went wrong is that on the day we got to Splashy Fan, now we're here, I had thousands and hundreds of people from Johannesburg and Cape Town coming to the Winston lot stage. When they got to the gate, they weren't allowed to buy our tickets. They were and then they changed their story saying, no, you guys were told you were only allowed to sell pre-sale. You can't sell your tickets at the gate. Because then they would lose out on money essentially. And
because they would get half of it.
That's what happened, and that's why we didn't go back the next year. So our budget, we had anticipated we had sold, say, 300 pre-sale tickets, and then told on the day that we couldn't sell our tickets to all these people that were waiting. Online stores at the time weren't a big thing. 2013, there wasn't Quicket as yet.
Quite the way it was. Yeah.
No, not as easy as now. And so we had,
because I remember, we were selling direct pre-sales, and we had online, but yeah.
But we couldn't sell at the gate, and that's what crushed us. And so
but
that's why we didn't make any profit. We made, I think it was 200 rand or so on the after thing. But we had a great time.
But everyone got paid as well. Like
all the bands got paid. We didn't get any money from it. I think you got. Maybe,
I got paid. You guys paid me.
Did we pay
you paid me my fee. I've always been paid.
It made no sense for us, and we just couldn't afford to do it the next year. Which is sad because I think it really would have grown, but now it has opened up, as you said. Splash Fan has changed their target market.
You could. I don't think you could do a Winston lot now.
No,
not in that way. Not with the way Splashy is now.
But we wouldn't be aiming to throw our own Winnie Fest if the Winston lot was still
at Splashy.
Fan.
That's the thing. Like you see, but I just feel like if he,
I think it could have taken over. Even we could be competing. We could be having 3,000-4,000 people to our side of Splashy Fan at the.
Maybe, you look at Ramfest is doing well, like they've come back this year.
Absolutely.
And they're doing quite well. I do feel like a bit of greed caused that issue with Splashy Fan, and that's why that person's no longer with Splashy Fan, because unfortunately there was so much potential with that. Like with the Winston at Splashy Fan.
Yeah, the
with
relationship
Uber
was
Cool
awesome.
at Splashy Fan.
Oh,
Like there was.
we were gonna do crazy things. The next year, the 3 years in, we would have been crazy cool. We would have been bringing down internationals, etc., etc. But look,
But it's no
I
use crying
learned-
over sport
I
because we
learned
don't learn a
a
lot
hell of
about
a lot from it.
negotiation, about contracts, about who to
absolutely.
work
We've
with.
thrown
how
our
to-
own little Winnie Fest since then, which little day events at the Winston. As I've thrown. And Bob, maybe not as much, but hundreds and hundreds of events since then.
Yeah,
And I think-
you've surpassed me now that you own a fucking venue.
I think that we are in a position where we are looking at throwing Winnie Fest and growing it and possibly doing an outdoor Winnie Fest next year.
I definitely think that could be a cool vibe, and that would be, you were mentioning earlier, you want to do the recording studio, you want to do a radio station, you want to do all these different things to give people stages to be able to have their music heard. And, that's kind of the last thing that we don't have anymore. Is that last thing that you could also provide. I mean, you're not providing the radio station or the studio yet, but that could be the last thing, I guess, in the plans for the Winston's
Absolutely.
future.
I dream of opening up a record label. Even I don't know how much space there is for record labels in the world, but just a management label, even to manage the talent that Durban has.
Yeah, but you're a little busy as is.
I am very busy now, but I think we've got to a point at the Winston where we've been aiming for a certain recipe and a goal, and we're achieving a lot of those goals. We've got food. The Winston's looking good at the moment. We're constantly upgrading even more and more. And we're at a point where we can start thinking out of the box. We're right close to getting some real sponsors involved. And just to up our game to a whole nother level. And once that happens, I think I will have more time. I mean, it can only grow from here. And let's see how it goes. We're not slowing down, so.
Cool. Well, I think that brings us to the end here. Thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you very much for having me. We've been long old friends.
Yeah, dude. We just knocked my mic off the stand. My brand new mic stands.
Shaking hands.
Shaking hands. But yeah, it is really cool to the years. We've had a very long
It's
history.
nice to see where everyone is now. I love Durban. I love being involved in the whole scene in Durban.
And just seeing how everyone's grown and changed.
Absolutely.
And
And
that's the
to
thing,
see how we're all a part of Durban now, and we're
And that's why I loved bringing up the early days where things were so wild and crazy, and you just look at how calm and normal things are now, and it's
where we've gone
where we've come from.
and what we're doing, and it's exciting.
It is exciting, man, and I'm really stoked for you. I'm really proud of you and everything that you managed to do with the Winston, and I'm looking forward to you turning it into what it should become.
Well, I'll do it together. I think.
Cool.
We're all going. Awesome, man. Thank you.